Hey everybody, welcome to the BBQ Talks Show. My name's Ryan. Matt's on holiday at the moment. Tonight's guest is Greg Rempe. You can see him over there. Give everyone a wave. Tonight's show is going to be a little bit different. Greg will be taking over the show, and I will be sitting back halfway through. We're going to run through some. How can I put it? So a unique product, I would like to say, we're going to run through, and I'm going to be talking Greg through the taste sensation, which is horse milk. So stick around and you'll be able to see what's going to happen. Firstly, I'd like to take a word about our show supporters, the Rusty Barbecue Company, which can offer you an exclusive 10% discount off all of their products. Meta will give you a 15% discount all worldwide. That's UK, America, everywhere. Our new supporter is Globe Baltic Charcoal. They give you 10% off their Birchwood quality charcoal. If you want to learn a little bit more about our charcoal, they were on last week. Very interesting show. Also, people do go rate and review our podcast. We're always growing, and it's always lovely to see where you guys are listening. So do pop along, write, I'll put my teeth back in, like, rate, and review. And if you can hear the door, that's my chihuahua trying to get in because I'm lucky like that. Right, so let's get into the show. Here's Greg. Hi, Greg. How you doing? It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Ryan, great to be back. Thank you for having me. First time doing a show. I apologize.
That's all right. My teeth weren't quite in. The door was getting attacked by the chihuahua, but never mind. I'm sure he'd bugger off in a sec. Hopefully, he's just been for a walk, so probably just wants to come and say hello. So, yeah, thanks for coming on. As I said, I hit you up straight away as soon as we saw that. I saw that segment about your horse milk. Genius, absolutely genius. So I naturally done the right thing. Went out and purchased some and hit you up.
I have to say, if I can, right off the bat, I want to apologize for the last time / first time that I was on. I don't think I was a very good guest. I think I was thinking I was going to be funnier than I was after going back and listening to it. And I just want you to know that I don't think I was the way maybe you and Matt thought I might appear, and I didn't like the way that I did, and I wanted to be a man about it and apologize and say that I'm sorry for being a crap guest that time. Maybe not all through it, but some of it. And I do. So outside of that, yes, you might find it interesting that the horse milk take had been in the vault for months and months. I found it maybe springtime when it originally came over, and I just caught an area in the show where I could bring it back up, and there it was. And I was incredibly elated that you were willing to jump in. And geez, I mean, after the cost of 16 ounces of milk, I have to say you were a true Centralite, Ryan, and I certainly appreciate it.
Hey, I share a love for horses as you. I've not tasted any yet, but it's going to be on the menu at some point.
Is it legal there?
Technically, yes. I think people actually farm it and to be killed and eaten. So I just think it's a bit out of vogue, to be honest. I'm not sure it's illegal. I just think potentially, it's sort of frowned upon in the UK.
That's how it was in the States for a while. There were horse slaughtering and processing plants. You couldn't legally eat it here. So it was all getting shipped to Mexico or was getting shipped to Canada. Perhaps it was making its way overseas. But there are a number of other countries out here, including Canada, that are free to eat horse, seem to enjoy horse. As you look back through the history of this country in America, there were plenty of times where a horse was not only enjoyed, but was preferred over traditional beef. It was less expensive. There was a taste and a leanness to it that people seem to like. But I think we've had the discussion before when I was on the first time. I don't know how the horse got over on the same side of the fence on the farm as the cat and the dog, but it did. And people don't want to have that discussion. And I'm like, hey, there isn't an endless supply of beef that are going around. It's not grown on trees. People are trying to grow it in labs. But there's so much horse meat available, why wouldn't we want to look at that as an option? Breeding it to eat. I'm not talking about taking thoroughbreds off the racetracks. Sure, that would probably kill you if you ate it because the thing's pumped full of so many steroids and other antibiotics, it would kill you. But I'm talking about real, like the way we do beef. Why not do it for horses? Come on.
We get Wagyu horses. Let's do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, the big old English horses with the furry feet. They'd probably make a perfect meal.
Clydesdales, and there's plenty of strains of horses out there, or whatever, breeds of horses out there that I'm sure would be magnificent to eat if only it was legal.
I totally agree. Like like you can go to the continent, like France and Belgium and Italy. They all happily tuck into
Yeah.
to horse. Norway as well is another one. All of them. Not the UK though. Not at the moment. One day, perhaps. One day. So yeah, as I said, thank you so much for apologising. It wasn't necessary, in my opinion. It was a good interview. Unfortunately, we hit a bit of a snag at the front, and I thought it probably was a bit of a misunderstanding. But you know what I mean. It takes a man to apologise, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
Apology accepted. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks, Greg. I wasn't expecting that. So that's really cool of you, dude. So let's get into the show then. This is sort of like a fairly standard question. What we do is we sort of like for every guest, it's just sort of like to settle me in and the guest in. So where are you from and how long have you been cooking over flames like we don't know already? So let's just get this rolling.
Well, as you can see, I'm from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know how many. I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are from, where you're from, UK, England, whatever. This is the booming metropolis. You probably never seen such as a big city as this, but here are 3 skyscrapers. This one here in the middle is Key Tower. I don't think that's actually more than 60 stories. And then this one here is Terminal Tower. That was the only skyscraper when I originally moved here to Cleveland. And then the one on the far right was built second. And then this one is in the middle is the most recent. But nothing over 60 stories. It's quite insane. So I love to poke a little fun at how not big, because we'll go to like Chicago and New York City and real ass cities where there's just endless skyline, and mine's pretty bare. I have a right here. That's the casino parking lot. It's not even a real building. I mean, that's where people park to go be degenerate gamblers. And then this is our the city of Cleveland's post office right here. That used to be something completely different. But that's it. I mean, what can I tell you? Cleveland is it. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, as I say. It's the barbecue capital of the North Coast. And a lot of people don't know what that means, but the city of Cleveland is located on the shores of Lake Erie. So it is the North Coast. There's nothing more north other than the water. Canada, of course, but we stop at the water. Why not? And I started, cooking over live fire in college. So that would have been starting in 94, 95. I met a guy that was really into cooking indoors. I was trying to fashion my outdoor cooking. And we figured we could get chicks if we cook. And the getting chicks part really didn't pan out. But we did find that we had a desire for cooking. And I really dialed in on the charcoal cooking at that point. He did the domestic stuff inside. And we had a number of great meals over 3.5 years that we were at Ohio University together, and then graduated out of there. Eventually got married, got a gas grill, cooked through the back of that. And really, this points to the genesis of this whole show and the BBQ Central and everything. I had a conversation with my cousin, Greg Rempe, who was a barbecue caterer at the time in Maryland. He asked me about if I had ever heard of barbecue or if I ever thought about getting a barbecue pit. I had no idea what the hell that was. So he introduced me to this whole thing. And really, that's where the whole genesis of not only my live fire passion to cook grew, but the whole online presence as it sits today.
Wow, that's some answer. That's basically chicks then got you into barbecue, which is That's a fair answer,
And
to
I
be
sit on
fair.
the picnic table when I was growing up with my dad, but he was certainly no slow and low pit master. I mean, he grilled hot dogs, hamburgers, steaks, the occasional ribs,
Mm,
but I didn't have any background in any of this live fire stuff. So, yeah, it was to impress chicks. Because what are you doing in college? You're either eating at the dining hall or you go uptown and spend money you really don't have. You're going through that internal struggle of, do I want to spend money on beer and get shit faced? Or do I
mm,
want to have a good meal and then not have enough money to then spend to get shit faced? So it's a terrible vacillating situation. And we said, hey, what if we could propose to chicks, why don't you come over to my pal Brandon's apartment? We are really good cooks. We have a mix of flair and food for you to choose from, all under the guise of perhaps betting them down at the end of the night. But
mhm.
as I said, good intentions, not really a lot of payoff, but we did sharpen our domestic and cooking skills, and it served us well through the years.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like a perfect plan to me. So, you got the barbecue sounds like a bonus, but equally as well, I dare say a wily old guy like you put a bit of practice in. You know what I mean? Probably put the hours in college. I bet you was quite a good looking lad when you were younger. So you probably done all right.
Well, I have bad news for you. I'm a really good looking guy right now, Ryan. Thank you.
No offense intended, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're keeping better than me. Christ, look at the state of me. You probably feel. Oh, I don't know if I'm. How old are you? I'm
48.
40.
No. I just turned 47 July. I don't know why I want to get to 48 so fast, but 47 July 10th. So just recent.
Oh, okay, I'm 43, so you got a few on me, and you look far superior. I'm
Thank
a
you.
mess at the minute,
Yes.
but got to get back in trim. Try a bit of keto out. I think that's probably the best idea. Because at
Do
the
you
minute,
run?
God, I can barely walk. If I'm totally honest.
Start walking and then get to running, for crying out loud. I run a 5K 4 days a week. That's 3.1 miles. I have no idea what that means in kilometers, but I know you guys talk about
Yeah,
kilometers
we
over
do
there. Yeah, we have our
miles.
own
Is
measuring system over here, and we don't care about
mm,
anybody else. But I do 3.1 miles 4 times a week. I do some weight training, watch what I eat,
mhm.
and got to keep the heart strong because I have a history of bad hearts and people knocking off early. And my wife and daughters want me to stay around as long as possible. So I'm trying to do my part.
Completely understandable. Well, you're looking well on it, mate. You know what I mean? Barbecue, running, and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah. If you're gonna do
Watching your
one,
diet.
you gotta do something the other to balance it out.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you wind up like a lot of guys in barbecue, big fat fucks.
That's me. Well, I am an ex-rugby player, so I
Not you,
sort of play. Well,
tough guy.
I sort of I carried on drinking. I should have probably stopped drinking as much as I did when I played rugby because obviously you're not burning the calories off as much.
That's
So,
right.
um, but yeah, I've got to lose a ton of weight, but that'll all happen once I get motivated enough. I'm just being lazy at the minute, if I'm perfectly honest. And honesty is always the best policy. You know what I mean? There's no point lying to yourself. You got to be
Hey,
straight.
I did it for years. My wife was like, "You gotta get going because you got a history of bad hearts." And I said, "Look, I'm not gonna do it." And then what happens? It's the age-old story, Ryan. You get the 4th cat that you didn't want, and this one would bang at the door relentlessly for hours on end. And after, like, the 4th week of having that effing cat, I said, "Well, he appears to be right at the door at 4:30 in the morning every goddamn morning.
Mm.
He's gonna get up and start working out." 4 years later, that's what I did. Now I'm in a program. So, I mean, we can thank the cat, I guess, except I have 4 cats that I don't want. And, now I have a running I've never considered myself a runner. I was pretty athletic in high school and college and stuff, pretty in shape, but I never considered myself a runner, and I guess now I'm a runner.
That's cool. You get all sorts of endorphins of that. I remember after training, you used to come out for like $1 million. You know, and you're like,
I think that's
"Oh,
younger.
really pumped."
I've
Mm.
I thought I would feel better, and I thought I would get used to it. I hate every second of it. Every second I hate it.
Mm.
But
See,
it
that's
gives me time
honesty
to listen
right
to
there.
all the barbecue podcasts. I listen to your show. Every new episode, I listen to your show. I listen to Digital Hospitality over there with Sean Walchef. I listen to Jay over at the Grill Coach podcast. I'm listening to Barbecue Beat. I'm listening to all the other podcasts that I can't think of off the top of my head that I really like. Pitmasters podcast with Rusty Monson, who happens to be an embedded correspondent of mine once a month. So
Yeah.
I listen to, if you have a barbecue podcast, I'm coming over it. I'm listening. If I really like it, I'll reach out and let you know I'm listening. Maybe I want to help. Otherwise, I just sit back and gauge where everybody else is and where I've
got some buddies up in New England, Pit Life Barbecue podcast, really good. Johnny Mags, Greg.
Yeah, I listen to that too. Right. They're in
good lads.
a real TVS studio too.
Yeah, they got a real good studio. They got the setup is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
I mean, they don't have a Cleveland background, but
well, no, they don't have black curtains behind them either. But you know what I mean? They've got a full on TV screen.
Everybody can't be us, Ryan. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, you know, you've either got it or you ain't. Let's be fair.
That's right.
So again, so let's pop down. So when you come up with how do you sort of like go through? You must like I generally try and work it no more than 2 weeks in advance. Sometimes I get a month if we get a lot of guest requests in. So how do you pick through your guest list? I suppose you must have people queuing up to come on your show.
Well, it's kind of a two-sided monster, a two-headed monster here. So, you know, over the years I've grown to acquire a stable of what I call recurring monthly guests. So first Tuesday of the month I have Malcolm Reed, How to Barbecue Right. That's another podcast I listen to. And Sam the Cooking Guy, who's quite a YouTube sensation on his own right, close to 3 million YouTube subscribers watching his channel. Second Tuesday, I have Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Third Tuesday, Stephen Reichlin. And I also have a quarterly guest on the third Tuesday as well. So this year was, I moved a monthly guest out, and I brought in 3 new quarterly guests. So Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly, Susie Bullock from Hey Grill Hey, and Jess Pryles from Hardcore Carnivore. So they sit in, each one of them. So, you know, they each get 4 tries through the course of the year. And then on the fourth Tuesday, I have Derek Riches, who's a barbecue journalist. And then we have the embedded correspondents. So I have those, let's say, in the bank as far as bookings. Now, conversations change month to month. I'm not having the same conversation with Malcolm that I had last month and the month before and the month before that, all that, right? Always new conversations, but I have those guests in the bank. And then it's trying to fill, I mean, sometimes it's the night before something happens and I pop somebody in. But right now I'm booked. Most of the segments are booked all the way through September at this point.
Oh, wow. There's
a lot of things going on. I mean, I think we're still benefiting from pandemic stuff, and people are still listening and wanting to know more about live fire, and they're trying to find all of the sources and outlets to learn about it. And I consider me to be more of a ESPN of live fire than a cooking show or a Food Network kind of a show.
Yeah.
And I think we're still benefiting. I mean, if you have a barbecue podcast right now, if you're not pulling the biggest numbers that you've ever pulled in the history of your show, then your show sucks and you should stop. Because this is the gravy train right now, folks. Even with Apple trying to fuck all of us in June with their stupid bug that inhibited downloads by 20 to 30%, you know, we're still seeing record numbers. So if you ain't in the middle of it right now, then think about covering a different topic.
Yeah. Well, we, as I said, our numbers are, well, we're only a year-old podcast, let's be honest, but you sort of, I see the graph and the numbers are going up, and it's, as I said, it's the listenership and where they pop up is crazy. You know, when you get in and you edit all of your little stuff and you think, oh, there's a guy there, there's someone over there, and it's really cool. So we've got a message here that just popped up from the chat from Pickles Barbecue, Charlie. What do you think of the advantages or disadvantages of podcast versus YouTube?
Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Pickles Barbecue. I see him all around. Every once in a while, I see him in my feed as well. So we wish him a fond hello here from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame City. Thanks for asking the question. I don't really know too much about YouTube. I stream live to YouTube. Maybe this is a loaded question and he knows, but I have a hatred for YouTube. I have a hatred for Amazon. And it's solely because of nothing that I did, but folks that thought they were supporting me ended up screwing me in the end. And YouTube basically banned me from being able to monetize any of my content off of my original channel that I had had for years and years. So I had to start a new channel under my wife's name. And that's why it's not like YouTube / BBQ Central Show. It's the only one that's kooky and not brand related, because I had to try and get around YouTube's policies. So I had to set it up under her, but I'm taking advantage of it. And then they changed the whole compensation program, and you had to get so many followers and so many hours of watches, and just bullshit. So I use YouTube merely as an additional streaming platform to try and get eyeballs. But if you look at my numbers, I mean, come on. I mean, they're worthless. I have 200 views, maybe a show or something along these lines. I also go out to Twitch. Facebook is the biggest video platform that I have because, when you stop and think about it, the majority of my listeners are my age or older. They're still in tune with Facebook. So I'll get 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 views, depending on who's on at the end of a show. But it never spikes more than a couple hundred for YouTube, even after the fact. So I don't particularly like it. I love talking to people that are very successful on it. But for me, the advantages of the podcast are that's where my wheelhouse was. And the majority of folks that listen to me aren't watching me live. They're definitely not watching me on YouTube after the fact. They go to their podcast platform, whether it's Apple or Google Podcasts or whoever. They search the show and they just listen to it audibly. And by the way, that's how I think you should consume the show. Don't watch me. The video portion is because over time people wanted to see a camera of a guy talking into a microphone. I'm like, how less exciting could that be? I kept up with times, tried to keep up with technology. So, kind of like you're doing, so we can see both of, we can see each other. And I try and do that with the guests too. But if I could, and then it was also a way to get more exposure for my sponsors that are paying me money. It gives them an extra avenue. I don't charge them more for that. It's just an extra outlet for them, features and benefits, whatever. Value add, all those hot button business talk buttons. But it's only been podcast focused for me. And then the live show is basically what keeps the show going at this point. If I went back to strictly a podcast, I know that I would figure out a way to get out of it 1 week, and then that would turn into 2 weeks, and then that would never be a show again. So that's why I keep doing the live show. I like the spontaneity and the who knows what's going to happen to the live show, which you're listening to live on podcast, but you're not experiencing the fall over the edge that we all might take together if you're watching it live. So I get that that's a cool thing, and that some folks really like that portion of it. But to me, there's only advantage to podcast, and there's no advantage other than extra exposure, and for the small handful of diehard Centralites that will tune in on a Tuesday night to watch live.
I've got to totally agree with you, Greg. Our numbers are poor for YouTube, and Facebook we've got our own little group thing going now. And as you say, the numbers do go up because generally people, we find the same. People do tend to watch stuff on Facebook if it's streamed. But I think if there was a way of streaming to TikTok or anything like that, as I said, we had a discussion off air. I think get to 1,000 and give them a little bit of behind the scenes sort of footage, just like tiny little snippets. You'll get there so quick. It's the Wild West area of barbecue at the moment.
The other thing that I think wins on YouTube is you have to work the algorithm, and you have to work people's attention spans. And that's why if you live within that 20 minutes or less of content, then you're going to do better. You get into my show and you see it's a 2-hour-long show, unless there's somebody on there that you're specifically tuning in for that I know you're just going to scrub into and watch and you're out, why would you watch a 2-hour show? Some people do. That's how they don't subscribe to podcasts. They put it on YouTube and listen to it in the background like a podcast. But I'm not built to live and succeed on YouTube. It's a 2-hour show. Who wants that? Nobody's got attention span for that. And that's why Sam the Cooking Guy's got 3 million YouTube subscribers. He's entertaining, but his editing is great. The production is great. The content is good. And he lives right in that wheelhouse of 15 to 20 minutes. And he kills it. Kills it. But that's not my wheelhouse. And that's why my audio download numbers are far superior. 33,000 downloads a month for my show. Verified. I'm not making that number up if anybody wants to take me to task. And atrocious live video numbers. That's just the way it is.
It's crazy. It is crazy. And to be fair, I love listening to podcasts. Just by the way,
I'm a big
I
fan.
work. I'm on my own most of the time at work. I've got a small team around me, but generally, the way we're set up, we're on our own. So you've got a little earbud in, so you spend your day listening to different podcasts, and obviously you get more and more familiar. And sort of like a podcast, it's something you can listen to, and you're familiarized with it. So it's sort of like you can sit back, and if you don't have to listen to it, or if it's no, that's probably the wrong way of putting it. If it's a comfortable listen, would probably be a better way of putting it. If you know what I mean, an effortless listen.
Yeah,
you're doing it right, and you do, to be fair, and a great deal number of other podcasts do as well. It's nice. It's like you've got a little friend in your ear hole. For me, while I'm working away, it's sort of like you're listening to something. Everybody, like, let's be honest, if you're in this chat room or you're doing this podcast, you've got an obsession with barbecue, and if you're listening to the podcast, you probably have as well, and I hope you do. But yeah, that's what we do. That's what makes us tick. Barbecue, and I think it's fantastic that people stop by and listen, and highly appreciated, really.
Yeah, agreed.
So when you get your guests on, how long does it take you? Sort of like, what is the thought process behind figuring out your questions for your guests? Because like, you're always on point, really. To be fair, some of them are fantastic. Oh,
I like to do research. I like to see if they've been on other podcasts. I like to hear if they have, what those questions were like and how they answered them. And I never want to be the show that people go on and it's just run of the mill softball BS questions that anybody else can ask. So I'll dig a little deeper. I'll get in contact with other folks. I have a pretty extensive correspondence base through the country and the world. So I can touch base with some folks and say, tell me something that most folks wouldn't know, or what should I really be asking? And that's really what the win for me is to do the digging, do the prep work. On a 2-hour show, I'm in 16 to 20 hours a week. But I think in the end, you hear my show, you hear other shows, there's a difference. Sure. I want to make sure that I'm asking the questions that nobody else is going to ask. Nobody wants to be asked how much money are you making, but I want to ask that question. People want to, like, my listeners want to know. They email in and say that I'm classless and nobody wants to know that. But trust me, if I want to know that, then other people want to know it. And I'm asking the right question. By the way, this isn't a thing where I'm leading myself in to give my own take, but if I'm asking, what are your gross revenues? If you're in business, I think we can all agree that's kind of a bullshit number. I have gross revenues. You have gross revenues. But I'm not asking you what your net profit is. Well, that's different. Somebody might want to take a shot at me, or I might want to yell at my own self for asking that. But, gross revenues is just a general business number, and people like to put some kind of, a lot of people put importance on that. But, to me, it's profit. And I like to ask those gross revenue questions. And sometimes people will answer, and sometimes people won't. But why not ask?
you're never really frightened to sort of roll your sleeves up and get dug in. That's one of the endearing things about you. If you see there's a question there or an elephant in the room that needs a bit of a poke, you're there with a stick straight
Yeah,
away.
well, I
There's
mean,
no
why
messing
not?
around. Mm,
Nobody else is gonna ask, and you come on my show, then I'm gonna ask.
yeah, that's true. Um, the sort of take we take on. Well, I always write down the questions that I want to hear, and if I think they're interesting, I hope people find them interesting as well. I just
Yeah,
generally make it as you get. It's the research that goes into it. If you don't put the hours in, it shows. You can ask the same questions all the time, or you can sit down and you can research your guests and think about what you're doing and try and get the questions off as best you can.
yeah,
I always generally most guests that come on will always have a totally different set of questions because they're different people, it's different processes and all of that sort of stuff. It's good. We've got in fact we've got a sorry Charlie, we've got a question in the chat. How did you how did you end up landing the announcement for the Barbecue Hall of Fame?
3 years ago, Emily Park, who was the manager over at the World Series of Barbecue, and she I mean, I have a theory on how I got it, because prior to me starting that whole relationship with the American Royal, I was its biggest critic because it was very in the dark and very non-informational, and magically names would appear that were going into the Hall of Fame, and I
Mm,
routinely took them to task year after year after year. And I got an email one year from Emily Park, and she said, "Hey, would love to make the announcement on your show." And originally, it started by doing a whole segment on the show about how all of the decisions were being made and who was. She pulled the curtain back,
yeah,
named names, gave processes, told us mindsets, the whole deal. And then we started doing the announcement of the class that year, and then I think this was this might have been the first year we did both. So we did an initial announcement of who the 9 finalists were, and then 2 weeks after that, we made the announcement of who the 3 making up the class were. And that's how it'll go going forward. And that's
yeah,
how I think my critiquing and railing against the American Royal invited them to be more transparent, and they saw through some of the name committee folks who also secretly agreed with me on what I was railing against,
hmm
and they wanted to bring it out, and they agreed, and we've been able to form a really nice partnership, and it's exclusive to my show. I mean, not this year, famous Dave, but other years, it's been totally exclusive with me.
yeah, yeah. Well, I remember you going Hammer and Tongs, as you said a few years ago. I've been listening for a while, and yeah, you didn't fuck around. Basically, you were going at it. You were straight on it. Telling them rightly so how it should be. Clear and transparent. It's always the best way, isn't it? So, I want to talk a little bit about your origin series you've done with all of the guests you featured. Are there any plans for another run of them, or would you do that?
I mean, not obviously not with the recurring guests that I've done already, but I
Hmm.
have had so off the success, and I got a ton of great positive feedback on hearing a completely different style of show
Mm,
within the show that they've become familiar with those guests. And a lot of folks didn't know 80% of the background or more. They just, knew them because they've, seen them on a TV show, but didn't know anything about or where the journey was. Because I think inherently, especially in this day and age, you see somebody where they're at today, and maybe they're successful, or you perceive them to be successful and rich, or both, whatever.
mm,
And you then immediately chalk it up to lucky, overnight, doesn't count. Where will he be in a week, or where will she be in a week? So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood where the journey was for all those people. And it was years and years of hard work. So where you see them today is one thing, but how long did it take them to get there, and what was the work that they put in, so you can appreciate where they are. And again, I think there's too much of a want to dismiss where success is. Maybe sometimes it's deserved, but I know the folks that are doing it right, and I wanted to make sure that you could go back and have a reference show to see where Steven Reichland started as a youth and the tragedy that he had to overcome when his mother died when he was very young, and what his relationship with his father was like, and how he grew into college, and where he eventually fell into the live fire, and how he evolved into that to where he is today. There's decades worth of work
Yeah.
that went in that nobody knows about. So you can listen to him and say, "Oh, well, he's an elitist," or "He talks real fancy like, so I hate him." But look what he had to overcome, and look at the work he had to put in. Same with Malcolm, same with Sam, same with everybody that I interviewed. So, long way to go to say, I've thought about maybe putting together a separate, like, origin story podcast that would be released, but I don't know. It's a thought, and that's as far as it goes at this point.
I could encourage you to do it because I've
If
listened
I
to all
wanted
of
to
them.
do it, I would wanna do it right, and I would wanna
Mhm.
put in the time, and I don't know, given everything else that I have going on, just in my day-to-day life, if I have the time to put in the work that I would wanna put into it. And then I would
Well,
wanna make sure I'm delivering it, in whatever release schedule that I would have to put on, blah, 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 so but
well,
it's not something that I'm not looking into at some point down the road.
maybe if you just done like 1 or 2 a year, there's like a tidbit or a treat for the listeners because
Yeah.
I can tell you what you produced last year was of
They were
excellent
great
quality.
fun to do. I mean, I
Yeah.
learned so much. I've had Meathead on my show for 12 years, 13 years. I mean, as long as the live show has been on, and then, 1 or 2 times when the show was just in podcast originally. And I learned 5 things through that origin story thing with Meathead that I never knew about him. And I've met him in person. I've hung out with him for hours on end in person.
Mm.
5 things at least that I didn't know about. So it was great fun for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as I said, it's fantastic listen. Um, would you consider having, an origin actually, let's not ignore the question. Charlie's put, what does Greg think about well, hold on, sorry, I'll put my glasses on. I should maybe sit closer to the screen. What does Greg think about the current barbecue fads, that will drop off, and does he see a longer lasting new development? Have I read that right?
Fads. I don't I mean, so I think pellet cooker mania, it's not a fad. Like, it's here. It's been around forever.
Mm,
It is now becoming way more mainstream for if you get into the backyards of folks now. I would say 5 or 6 years ago, I don't know if you would find a pellet cooker unless you were somebody like me or you or everybody listening to the show, like diehard barbecue folks. And even then, you heard about them, but you maybe took a piss on them instead. It's cheating. That's not real barbecue, blah, blah, blah. Where we're at today with the amount of pellet cooker manufacturers that are out there, choices that you have, there's no denying that pellet cookers have a well-earned and rightful place in the backyard. You
mm,
can have a gas grill, and you can have a charcoal cooker, and you can have an offset, and you can have a pellet cooker, and all are agreeable and can work off of each other, and you should have all of those if you're allowed to have all of those. But I think, again, pellet cooker isn't a fad, and I see that continuing. Now, I think it's interesting as you look into the business, and we covered this on my show this past Tuesday.
mm,
You have Traeger Grills, pellet cooker company, going public yesterday. You have
mhm,
Weber Grills that is going to be going public. I heard from my Texas embedded correspondent earlier today, looking to go public August 5th. So both much quicker than typically would happen. And there's a lot of things that are going on
mm,
in those businesses. So you have Traeger that bought one of your sponsors, Meter.
Yeah,
and
they did.
they buy meter not for the product, they buy meter for the patents that they have, because I
Mhm.
think Traeger sees an opportunity where if everything went right for them, Meter's got lawsuits going on with some folks that they think are infringing on their patents. Traeger is obviously in a well-documented lawsuit with one of my sponsors, Green Mountain Grills, for infringements of patent. If everything goes well on all fronts, Traeger is set to annihilate every other pellet cooker company on the market.
Mm.
Not only can they ace out Green Mountain Grills, but anybody that has Wi-Fi connectivity and app connectivity, which could then roll down to wireless thermometer technology, because now they own the patents. You, you're either going to have to pay them a royalty for everything you sell, or you're out. They could corner the market just through
Yeah.
patent, like bully marketing. It's either good business or bad business, depending on what your business sense is. So that's one, and then you have, and by the way, that could also concern Weber. If everything went right for Traeger, Traeger could easily go after Weber, because Weber has app connectivity and they have Wi-Fi connectivity, and they also bought. Weber had bought June. It was either earlier in the year, which was like a smart toaster oven. But again, this is a company buying patents and technology.
Mm.
So you have a setup where the two biggest titans in live fire cooking right now could be going at each other, and one could wipe out the other. Far fetched, I'm sure, but
Mm.
I
Yeah,
mean, there's
I
certainly a percentage of realism in there because of what Weber owns patent wise and what Traeger now owns patent wise. And where do you see that running back, to try and get back to Pickle's question? As we had talked about on my show Tuesday night with the embedded correspondence, we might see a run back to what some would feel is a little bit more old school cooking, going back to Weber Smoky Mountains, going back to offset cookers, and getting back to the more fire management instead of trying to have the cooking process become horrifically automated. I'm
mm.
not a fan of having things tell you when it's done or flip it now. I don't mind thermometers. I think you need thermometers to be safe, but I don't need one to sit there and watch it tick up every freaking degree or tell me when to do this. Like, I want to learn. I want to be a part of that process. I want to learn how to build a fire in an offset, and take part of that whole process and do it for hours on end. Because if I was ever put in a situation where I had to get in front of one to cook, I can do it. It's
Mhm.
like getting on a bike. Like, once you have the knowledge of fire management, it doesn't go away. You want to practice it every now and again, but you can now cook on a whole host of other cookers that you can't if you're only a pellet cook or if you're only a charcoal cook.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we might see some kind of a run back to old school cooking to a certain degree as technology continues to advance, and that's not going away either.
Mhm. I totally agree with you, to be honest. I've been looking at getting a, have you seen the Cad-Eye bowls out there? They're like a big fire bowl, and you can put a grate
Yeah,
on top, so
I've
you're
seen
literally
something
cooking.
similar to that. Yeah.
I'm looking at getting one of those for my, like, towards the end of the summer, 'cause obviously buy it now, it's crazy because 'cause they're silly money, but you buy it in the autumn, and you get one for a more reasonable price, because for what they are, they're a lot of money, but I should be able to pick one up for a couple of £100 in September rather than 500 at the moment, which is insanely expensive for a great big piece of cast iron with a hole in it, if I'm perfectly honest, but that's my plan. But I think it's quite a romantic idea, you sit there, you make a fire, you let it die down, and you cook over it. It's nice. You can put a cross thing on it if you want, on a smaller scale. They're
Oh, yeah.
pretty cool pieces of cool pieces of kit, should I say? Um, yeah, and you're right. I think a lot of people will go back that way, for sure. So, with where was I on my question? I was going to say, would you, if you was to have someone interview you for an origin story, um, who would you choose if you could choose anybody in the world? Who would it be?
I don't know. I've never even given any thought. Um, I'm firmly of the belief that there are way more entertaining people for me to do origin stories on than have somebody do one on me. So I don't. I don't know who would be a good host because I really haven't put 2 seconds worth of thought into it. And I know Meathead offered a while back when we were going through those, but I wasn't going to chase him down. I'm certainly not
Mm.
like out looking to have somebody do my story, look at me, but then nobody's chased me down to do it. So, you know, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't have an answer for it.
It's I was just thinking, you've been a trailblazer within the circle we're in. You were the first and the longest running, so there's good ground, in my opinion, that it should be done or will be done at some point, or should be done at some point by someone. And if Meathead offered, I'm pretty sure it'd be a good John Solberg. Who's that? I've heard of John Solberg. Well, I've heard of Daddy
Yeah,
Dutch
it's
with
my
John
Michigan
Solberg.
embedded correspondent, John Solberg. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe him or anyone. But I
John
think
would be good.
Mm. I was just literally thinking of Meathead's like obviously he's a journalist, so it's a strong background for that sort of thing, isn't it? So
Yeah, for sure.
oh, there we go. We've got a volunteer in the chat. Draw. Brother Rolton said he'd do it if you want him to do it.
Dogfather. All right.
But-
Let's put it together.
Yeah, he's got a really, really big YouTube channel. Fantastic content. If you want to know how to cook a brisket, go check his channel out. He's got a really good video on how to cook a brisket.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Oh, good God, what have I done there? That's why Matt's a tech guy. I shouldn't touch the mouse. I should only read. Or try to. So the BBQ Central Pop Idol edition. I listened to your song. Well, I've been listening to all of them actually. Obviously, Ricer was the champ, but
yeah, season one.
That's going to finish next week. And I believe listening to your song, you're in the corner to win it, just because of your singing and the production. I don't actually know the song, but I was tapping my foot when I was listening. I didn't even know the song, so you've done a good job. Do you have a singing background? Have you ever done it, or is it just sort of
No?
Just
Never.
Lots of practice then.
One time in college, so the guy that I used to do the cooking with to try and get chicks, he was in a band. He was the singer. He also played rhythm guitar. And every once in a while, they would let me come up and sing a song here or there. But I'm certainly no singer. I'm not any kind of formally trained musician. I can play a mean set of air drums. But outside of that, nothing. No. It was just something to do to change pace for, a couple months.
It's again good it's a good entertaining slot. And I'm glad you're doing the season 3 because it's fantastic. It just changes things up.
I have to thank the embedded correspondents, because if they would have pushed back and be like, "Hey, F you. We're no singers. We don't want to do it." It would have been dead. Either season 1 and never would have got off the ground, or they would have said, "Okay, here we go. This was fine, but we're not going to do any season 2 and you can't make us, or we quit." And that would have been it. But they are game individuals. And as we said at the close of the show on Tuesday, as we look back from season 1 to season 2, we added a singer in Rusty, and Jeff came back to defend his title. So we got to go out a whole other month. We did it for 4 months this year. And the production was great. And everybody's effort was there. Everybody came to win. And the joke of it all is you have what was in the beginning 5 average to below average singers. So it's like a train wreck, right? I mean, you're tuning in to see if somebody can pull it off one week, and then you're also tuning in to see who's the worst, who's making you fast forward, who's making you want to pull your ears out, going, "I can sing better than that guy." So luckily, we've kind of hit all the marks, I guess.
Well, I think it's the competitive edge from every one of your embedded correspondents as well. They really stepped their game up. Stepped their game up.
Everybody wants to win. Nobody's not realistic about where we're living in the realm of singing, but everybody wants to win at the same time. So I agree.
For sure. If you're playing to win. You're not playing to lose, are you? You know, let's be honest. You want to be the best at whatever you
Second
can
place
try
is
and be.
first loser.
Exactly right. No one remembers second place or third place. It's no point. My wife's in the chat and she has just made a good point. She said, "Have I missed the milk tasting?" So, on that bombshell, Greg, I'm going to hand the reins over to you.
All right.
And we run a little thing. You ready to go? It'd be 30 seconds, and then come in with yours, and then we go from there, yeah?
Sounds good.
Cool. All right, here we go. Brand. And we're back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
All right, welcome back to what I'm billing as a bonus segment here on the BBQ Central Show, and I am co-hosting the BBQ Talk Show with Ryan. Matt is out. And if you were listening to the show last Tuesday, I did a story top the second hour where I did a piece on a guy over in England whose job is making horse milk and associated horse milk products. And we talked at length about how this horse milk had cured his daughter's eczema. And I believe he also had some digestional issues. Digestional is not a word, but I just made it up. He had some digestional issues, and the horse milk seemed to cure that up as well. It might be a miracle drug. And lo and behold, my official England embedded correspondent, Ryan, said, "Hey, I'm going to hit this guy up and get some milk." I was like, look at this guy. So, sure as shit, Ryan jumped on the worldwide internet and ordered up not one, but maybe, actually, I'm going to bring Ryan in now. So if you're watching, you can see Ryan. If you're listening, know that I can see Ryan on the computer screen. So you're listening to me go on and on about horse milk. Obviously, if it has anything to do with horse, there's a good chance it's going to be on my show because of the whole horse meat situation. But this was just another piece where horse milk was doing something medically incredible that perhaps no other dermatologist or internist or whoever was going to be able to help this girl out with her eczema. But horse milk cures it. And you said, hey, I'm going to step up and take a look at this. So as you're listening to me go on, what's going through your head, Ryan?
Well, Greg, as you said, I saw your segment and listened to your segment, should I say, and decided to head out and go and get some. And that's what I've done. And obviously, we're on a podcast. If you're watching the video, this is the Magic Elixir of what I'm just about to consume for you on your show.
Was it room temperature?
No, it's chilled. I don't. Yeah, it's been
get it off the
sitting on the
internet,
side.
or did you like go out to this guy's farm?
Oh no, it was a mail order thing. So it got sent through the post. It was frozen when it turned up. I had to defrost it in the fridge. A few days later, we're ready to rock. So I'm going to pour this out. I'm going to swirl it around.
A wine glass there, so you're going to give it the whole wine treatment. Swirl it around to let the bouquet open up. Get a little nose sniff for you. As I was doing a little research on horse milk last night, and we were doing some sound checking, I was getting some feedback from. Well, we also learned, wow, you dumped that whole thing right in there. Well, man's game right there. We saw horses getting milked, which if you go to YouTube and watch horses getting milked, you might think that horse is getting a handy, but it's not. It is producing horse milk, and they do have, so like the one that I saw, the lady was actually manipulating the horse to have the milk come out, but then through other videos that we saw, there were cow-like apparatuses that like automatic suckers, automatic
Yeah.
milkers, or whatever the hell you call those things. And it was doing it in a much more efficient fashion than doing it by hand. But the thing that seemed to recur from a taste profile standpoint that you will potentially prove out here tonight, Ryan, is it was sweet. So you swirled it around. Give me a sniffy sniff and then a report on the nose.
I'm not actually picking anything. Doesn't really smell any different to a normal thing of milk, to be honest. Maybe sort of nutty if I was to
All right.
yeah.
All right. Well, here we go.
Mm.
Ryan is going to go ahead and give it a tasty taste. Swirling it around, thinking, formulating a response, and here we go.
If I was to, it doesn't taste bad. You're right. It definitely has a sweet back note to it. Almost, yeah, almondy, nutty type of taste. Not unpleasant.
Is the feel in the mouth silky? Is it more of a like you've had some water? Does it lay heavier on the palate, like viscous, like maybe a nice wine or a heavier dessert wine? What do you think?
It's more of a watery type of milk, if I'm honest.
Little thin, like fat-free milk.
Yeah, I was going to say like a semi-skin type milk. Almost like a nutty semi-skin milk. It's not bad actually.
Yeah, you're going back for like sip after sip. So let's figure it out. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you like milk in general, like regular cow's milk? Are you a big milk fan?
No, not really. Sometimes you feel you need milk, so like I'll go and have a glass of milk every couple of days, but I wouldn't, more of a water type of person or anything other than milk generally. But
this is the first time you've had horse milk.
For sure. Yeah, I've never tried horse milk. I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw it on your show. So this is a totally new horizon for me.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where are we rating horse milk compared to cow's milk?
Now, there's a question. I would say this is probably a little bit nicer because it's got a sweeter taste to it, a nutty taste. Yeah, I'd say horse milk is a bit of a winner, to be honest.
Right.
You couldn't have it on your cornflakes, that's for sure. But
is this something you might put in coffee to not only give it a little bit of cream, but a added kicker of sweetness as well?
I wouldn't say this would sit very well in coffee because it's got, again, that nutty flavour. I don't think that would work very well in tea or coffee. I think this is just sort of to drink on its own. I don't think it would work very well with anything other than chilled in a glass. You could maybe cook with it. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I would not.
You're not
really
putting it in
recommend.
mac and cheese. You're not putting it in cereal. You're not putting it in cup. You're not going to sub that out for what you would normally do cow's milk, is what you're saying.
Definitely not. No, definitely not.
Now, let's talk about the most important stuff here.
Mhm.
Go to the website. Now, I will caution all of my American-based friends here listening. This is a company that's based in England. I'm sorry, I don't want to be a dope here, so set me straight. I can't interchangeably say UK and England, right? Because England left the UK, like the Brexit thing. Is that correct?
No, the United Kingdom is England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales.
Right.
We left Europe, so Europe is obviously the continent of Europe. So England and Ireland and Scotland are
You left the continent?
Yeah,
You're on the continent. You can't leave the piece of land that you're on, right?
We left the European Union, which is continental Europe. We are on the continent of Europe, but we are now a standalone country.
Did you know that's what Texas has been trying to do forever? They want to secede from the Union, but they can't ever do it. But you guys did it. That's amazing. Like Texas is on the continent of North America. They want to be a self-sufficient country, and secede. They always talk about it. You guys did it. You're way better than Texas. Way to go.
Well, I can't really, to be honest, I'm not sure it was a good thing in my personal opinion.
Well, let's not talk about any of that. I'm just saying you put your mind to it, and boom, you did it. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very on the behalf of Great Britain. Thank you very much, Greg.
So for my friends in the States, this is an England-based company. I can say UK and know that I'm correct in saying that as well. Don't go over and order. It's got to ship through. Nobody knows how quick it's going to get. Now, you said you got it frozen, so maybe they would triple pack it with dry ice, and maybe it magically appears. I don't know. If you want to try it, don't blame me. I don't want to hear about it. But if you try it and it gets to you and it's okay, then maybe you should contact me because I'll have you on to talk about it as well. But as you get to the website, Ryan, talk to me about the checkout process and then, of course, the cost.
It was quite a easy enough process, standard Google thing. Put in all of your details. PayPal. I used. It's a safer way of doing it, so they say. And it turned up in a couple of days. You get an email saying they processed it. So maybe they had to milk the horse to send it over and then freeze it before they posted it. I don't know, but yeah, it turned up in good time and frozen, very well packed. No complaints really. It's a nice smooth transaction. Or whatever way you want to put it. If I'm surprised they don't sell it on Amazon. To be honest, they probably could. It's quite it's not unpleasant. But in fact, the more I'm drinking it, the more I'm thinking it's okay. So yeah.
And the bottles that you got, is it like a pair, or did you buy two on purpose? Were there bigger sizes? No. And then what was the cost?
You can buy 60 for around £60. So it's like £1 a bottle. But I brought two because that was the minimum number they done. Because obviously, I didn't know whether I was going to like it or not. And to be fair, two for the price I paid, which was £16 with postage and packaging, I thought was pretty expensive anyway for 250 milliliters or I can't remember the ounce.
I think we were like 8.4 ounces per bottle, and then a USD that worked out to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $23. So 16 total ounces, 23 total dollars. I think I can get a gallon of cow's milk for $3.27 at this point. So sizably more expensive. However, you're going after that horse milk favorably, I might add. You're not vomiting in between sips. You seem to be pretty amenable to it. And by the way, anything that was wrong with you is now fixed. Like what? Name everything that was wrong with you, Ryan, and tell me how much better you feel after consuming 5 or 6 sips.
Well, I must admit, there's absolutely no medical backing for this, but my back's feeling a little bit better. I'm sure my organs are maybe running a little bit smoother.
Strong. Your timbre has never sounded better. Your hair is growing back. Your eyes are bright. I can see muscles growing underneath your shirt.
Absolutely rippling. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, it's not a bad product, to be fair. If you want to try it, please do. Would they sell it over with you guys or?
Again, I probably should have done a little bit of legwork on the American side to see if it's readily available here in the States, which I'll do once we get off the air. But seeing the story on whatever it was, Daily Mail or wherever I found it, it just fascinated me, and I held it, finally got space to get after it. And I appreciate the fact that you manned up, bought 2 bottles for $22. And the good news is it appears your 16 ounces plus will be enjoyed through to the end, which is, nice to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm sitting here drinking it. I must admit, I was a little bit anxious is probably the repentive, you try anything that's a little bit out of the norm, especially horse milk. And one of the videos I saw on how to milk a horse, it was like, I'm not looking forward to trying this. But then we saw the standard one with the sort of suction cups, and it sort of made me feel a little bit more.
Is your wife, Debbie, in the house?
Yeah, she's in the house.
Why don't you come in here and take a swig and we can get another opinion.
Yeah, okay, I'll give her a call. One sec.
Yeah.
I presume she's still watching, hopefully.
Well, now she's probably left the house. She's like, you know what? I'm out of here, everybody. Neighbor's calling. Gotta go.
Oh, there's a good idea. If ever there was a YouTube video, make a white Russian with horse milk.
Yeah, Fatty Dutch. Great idea right there. A little
There we
nutty,
go.
sweet. Right, here she comes.
Mhm.
So now we can get 2 independent taste test reviews.
Oh.
I should just pop the headphones on her so she can hear you.
Yeah.
You want to come in? Yeah, it's the mic.
I don't want to come in.
Well, so you can get closer to the
Come
mic.
here. Hello.
Hi, Debbie.
There we go.
Very nice
Hi.
to meet you. Thank you for coming on your husband's show / the show that I'm turning tables on. And I wanted to get a second independent opinion. So what do you think of the smell? Does it smell like anything?
It smells a bit farmy to me.
All right.
Follow me.
Gamey. All right. And then are you a fan of like normal cow's milk? Will you drink on that regularly?
Yeah.
All right.
Have it on cereal, in tea.
Would you?
Not this, but cow's milk I
alright.
would, yeah.
All right. So give it a tasty taste here and let's see what you think. Thinking. Oh, went back for another sip. Here's what I think. I saw Ryan's concerning look before he went in for the first sip, thinking it was probably going to taste like manure, but then was immediately relieved that it didn't taste that bad. And I saw a similar look on your face as you were going in. So what do you think?
It's quite sweet. And nutty, I would say.
Yeah, all right. He
Possibly a
said
bit.
sweet and nutty as well. Now, he said not good like in coffee, but do you see it working in place of cow's milk in any way?
I reckon you could actually. It's a bit like people have soy milk and
I like oat milk.
almond milk. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
could probably work as a replacement for that.
Debbie, how many times have you been on Ryan's show otherwise?
How many times have I been on your show before?
Maybe once.
Maybe
Look at
once,
me.
apparently.
First timer right here. Way to go, Debbie. You know the varsity show when you hear it. I appreciate it.
Well, you've got the youngest of the Guinea family trying
right.
it now. So
Do you want
Get
to
all
come
those
in?
guineas in there. There we go. Get that kid on the microphone. Look at this. How you doing, youngster?
get to the mic.
I'm alright.
All right. What's your name?
Charlie.
Charlie! I knew it. I'm a big fan. I follow you on Instagram.
Do you?
No, I was just kidding. I will. I promise. I will. All right. So, Charlie, are you before you taste that, are you a cow's milk fan too, like your mom?
Not really.
No. So, are you scared to try the horse milk because the word horse is attached to it? No.
Nah.
All right. You're a
I'm
man's
just
man.
kind of scared that it would be something else.
All right. So give it a sniff. Oh, he's going right in. All right. Like it.
It's
What do you think?
sweet.
Yeah? Would you say it's nutty as well? Yeah, going back for another sip? Like,
Nutty, yeah.
yeah. Right. So would you put it in cereal or something like that? Or
I'd
maybe
put
you
it
won't
in
drink
tea.
it ever again? You put it in tea. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think if your dad bought 10 gallons of it and kept it in somewhere refrigerated, you would drink on it for the rest of your life or no?
Nah.
This is going to be it for
Maybe.
you. Maybe.
I'd
Maybe
drink it in tea,
Christmas
but nothing
time or
else.
something? Yeah. All right. Charlie, how many times have you been on your dad's show?
Once.
Once. Oh, yeah. I'm pulling them all in tonight. Who else is in that house that we can get in there to force to drink horse milk?
My
for
brother. My brother, but shall I go see if he wants to come on?
Oh,
No.
He doesn't want to. All right. We've forced the the guineas to get on camera more than they probably want to. So, Charlie, I appreciate your efforts here tonight. You've been on the really big BBQ Central show. I'm sure it's a life-changing event. Follow me on all the social media if you possibly can. I'll follow you back as well, okay?
All
right. Give those earphones
See
back
you.
to your dad. All right, take care.
Bye.
Look at that,
Thanks, Charlie.
Trooper! My goodness. Ryan, I have to tell you that you have a allegiant family right there, jumping right on camera, taking the risk right along with you. And I have to say, they are, that's a family to be proud of right there. And I can see, well, I have to say, Charlie jumped right in there. He obviously has no fear. But I saw on your face, I saw on your wife's face, as I was telling her, concern before going in, and then relief. Like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Well,
you
it's
think it's something you're going to keep around? You're gonna have another order at some point down the road once you get through these, or that's probably going to be it.
To be fair, if it doesn't taste bad, if they say it's supposed to be okay for eczema, my wife gets eczema. If she wants to order some more, we can order some more. We'll see. But
Here's
yeah,
what I
it's
think.
it.
I think we need to get Ted the farmer, whatever his name was, I forget. I said his name on Tuesday. And he needs to give you what I would call a endless supply of horse milk. You can sit it right up there on the right-hand corner with all those rubs and have a horse milk right there. Maybe you take a couple swigs during the show. That could be a sponsorship that maybe you didn't see coming, but should absolutely happen. I'm happy to engage with that guy too and try and get a deal done for you guys. I'm sure Matt would be happy to drink horse milk during the show as well. I don't want to speak for Matt, but he told me he would.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I could just see him with a goblet full of horse milk swilling away. That'd be quite the thing. I'm actually going to go in for some more, to be honest. It's not bad. It's definitely better. Yeah, it's definitely better colder.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. So, as a old wine drinker and aficionado, as I was, when you, especially like, I was never one to want to drink wine cold, because once you get into a certain level of snobbery with wine, you realize that anything, like a lot of people will put white wine in the refrigerator, or they want it really cold because it's like refreshing. But really what temperature does is it hides any of the imperfections of the wine, because you would notice that if you think it's delicious when it's cold, and 30 minutes later or 40 minutes later, as it starts to warm the bottle and your glass or whatever, the wine takes on a completely different flavor profile. And now all of a sudden, maybe you're not a fan. Well, why would you buy a piece of shit wine at room temperature when it's being hidden into something that you think is delicious cold? It should be delicious at room temperature. And that's why you should be. So I was wondering, as this starts to warm, does it get less enjoyable?
Well, that's what we're about to find out. Actually, you can see it now as it's warming up. It's actually clinging to the glass more.
Yes, it's building legs, as we say in the wine world.
It certainly is starting to smell more. I don't know. Certainly to smell more. I don't know if it's horse-like. It's definitely smelling of less milk-like. We'll put it that way.
Is it off-putting?
No, it's just different.
Yeah.
As I said, the taste isn't. It's just different to what you're used to. I wouldn't say it's a bad taste, but it's unusual. It's not a bad thing.
All right, how are we closing this up? I mean, you're I'd say you're halfway through that goblet, which maybe even more, which has been a success as far as probably that horse or that horse milker is concerned.
Yeah,
so that's good. So how do you want to end this or wrap it up?
Okay, so if you want to, that you can say that's the end of your segment now. Give it a few seconds for the edit.
Let's do this. All right, there's your bonus content right there, Ryan Guinea from the BBQ Talks Show. Bought his own horse milk right from the farm that I had mentioned last Tuesday. 2 of them. So a total of 16 ounces at $22. If you're American and you want to give it a whirl, go ahead. If you get it and you don't die after you get it, then let me know, and maybe we can have you on to do that. But otherwise, make sure that you're listening to the BBQ Talk Show. Subscribe to it on all of the podcast platforms, or search for them on YouTube and watch their live show, or get it in podcast like you would do with my show. And be sure to tune in for a live BBQ Central show this coming Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now! Okay. And we've
back
really
on
pulled back the curtain, Ryan. I mean, people are seeing production going on like they've never seen, probably.
Well, what goes on behind the curtain of a podcast is something people won't know unless they have to do it and sit down. Do you edit much, or do you just sort of let it go out raw?
If it's really bad, technically, if a segment has gone awry terribly, I'll go in and edit for the podcast. I mean, I don't do anything after the fact for video feed, but in the podcast, I'll clean it up a little bit. There's no reason that a listener should have to struggle through me trying to connect the call or bad echo or something technically bad that really stands out. You know, there's that fine line between it's funny for a couple seconds to it's highly annoying and I'm punching out. And I never want to cross over that line.
Yeah, I totally agree, Greg. The stream gets left, it will be chopped down a little bit, but generally the podcast, I'll sit down and I'll edit and make it sound reasonable and send it on its way. Yeah, someone's put UK. What's that? CMAC. What's he put there? Can you see that? Hashtag UK horses
is now trending on Twitter. I don't think we said that. Horse milk.
Horse milk. Yeah.
Literal milk.
Yeah, and Uncle Steve has said, "Hey, yeah, I did. I absolutely really drunk it, Steve, and it was okay. To be honest, I've drunk far worse, and yeah, it was all right. I was. Yeah,
and you're healthier by the second.
I can see there's a milky glow radiating from me.
Yes. You just sound healthier. By the way, I really enjoyed the segment that you did with Steve when he was on a little while back. That was a very enjoyable listen.
He's a good guy, full of energy. You hit him up. We've had some lovely guests on over the last year. In fact, it was our anniversary. We done this. This is our 53rd show.
Oh,
and me and Matt was going to do an anniversary thing, but like work and stuff, it's just been hectic. So that'll be coming up soon. We just need to organise stuff and get things done.
I'm looking forward to that.
So we're going to start to wrap things up a little bit now. We're going 1 hour 20, which is good. Recent cooks. What was the last thing you cooked on your outside or inside or?
Smoke roasted chicken wings. So I get the whole wing, cut off the tip, and we'll freeze those as I accumulate carcasses and whatnot, and then throw them in water for stock. And then I take the flat and the drumette, and usually there's like some skin going on here, and I'll take a sharp knife and I cut down to the joint so they widen out a little bit, and then put them in the refrigerator for a couple hours to let that cool air dry out the skin and tack up nice, and then a little avocado oil on top, and then Big Papa's Sweet Money and Little Louis seasoned salt combo, and then onto a 375 Green Mountain Grill, and I cook them. I mean, that's probably the only thing that I'm not temping anymore because I just have it down. But I think if you would temp them, I run them up pretty good. They're probably towards 200 degrees, but they can take the heat and they can take the temperature, and they're delicious. The skin is approaching crispy, but it's not rubbery. But it's not like if you were on a grill and you were able to crisp up the skin like I used to do. But and then I make my own Anchor Bar wing sauce. My dad got the original recipe from Buffalo, New York, where buffalo wings were originally born, and I use that sauce. I have that recipe, and they're delicious. That's my favorite. That was the last thing I did.
That sounds absolutely delicious, mate.
We love wings here. I love them.
Yeah, wings. I'm a wing man. Like we're having a family barbecue on Sunday. It's going to be pulled pork, wings, and burgers and the rest of it. But I'll be eating the chicken wings cut down into flappers and drumlets, and that'd be me. I'll be happy doing that. Oh, no, Charlie's popped in. The horse milk wasn't bad. Thanks, Charlie. Yes. There we go.
Is that his Instagram too? I told him I
That
followed him on Instagram. He's like, really? I was like, no, not really. But then I told him I would have to. I was taking a shot.
he's a well, a kid. He loves Instagram and YouTube. Both of my kids are quite creative. To be fair, one of them's a YouTuber. He's monetized. He does stuff about trains and things.
Good
He's earning money off it at 15, which is pretty cool. And Charlie is doing whatever you do on TikTok as a kid, putting up loads of funny little videos. And
How old is he?
Charlie's 12.
12. He's very charming.
Yeah, they're both cracking kids and proud of them beyond all belief. I think they take after their mum.
Yeah.
They must have. That's where they pick the good manners up and nice stuff from. So what we're going to do now, Greg? We've got a section called the Hot Fire Round Cues. They're a set of straightforward questions. You literally ask a question, get an answer straight back. So it's like really quick.
Okay.
You ready?
No thinking involved? Oh, that's my specialty.
Yeah, here we go. So, question number 1, hot and fast or low and slow?
Low and slow.
Day or night?
Day.
Ooh, it's one. Beer or spirits? Back in the day.
When I was drinking spirit.
No. Lump or briquette?
Lump.
Pork or beef?
Pork.
Ribs, wet or dry?
Dry. Always.
Shrimp or meat?
Shrimp.
Would you wrap it or let it ride?
Let it ride.
Burgers or hot dog?
Burgers.
Horse, yay or nay?
Yay!
So, brisket or short rib?
Short rib.
Favorite non-meat thing to grill?
Lettuce.
I'm gonna try that. Smoked or grilled?
Smoked.
Wood or charcoal?
Wood.
Right. That's the end of the quickfire round for this time. If you'd be so kind to put your own question in now for the next guest, who will be Mark Williams from Swine Life Barbecue next week.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. Yeah. Think of a question, put it in, and he can answer one of yours.
I want to know if he's played a tune on the fiddle that he won for winning Grand Champion.
Yeah, I'll put that down. Fiddle or okay. That's a very specific question. We've got more of a general one for the general public, but I'll definitely ask him that from you.
What's the best way he's found to light and offset stick burn?
Okay. Right, I'll put that down, and that's a quick fire question from you. Right, thank you so much, Greg, for coming back on. And the apology, I'll be totally honest, it was lovely to receive, but you didn't need to. I sort of felt there was probably a little bit of misunderstanding anyway, and I mean that. But it's, as I said, it's glad. I'm glad you've done it, and as you say, with peace and love, that's received. So, thank you very much.
Peace and love.
That's right. Look, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't even given a second thought. And if you didn't like it, F you. But we evolve, we change, and I've spent a lot of time focusing, looking internally, and what kind of a person I am, and how I want to be, and both to my kids and people that I'm dealing with. And after looking at it, I was attempting to do something that, in hindsight, I felt didn't come off well. And if I didn't feel it came off well, then you guys probably didn't either. And I know you guys are fans, so there was a double weight on me at that point, going, well, maybe if you didn't really know me, or it was just a guest you were hoping to have on, and I came on, you're like, oh, that guy's a dick, and it's kind of okay, but never have him on again. But if you're a fan, then you're like, wow, not only was that interview not that great, he's a dick. So I don't even know why I like him anyway, and I certainly didn't want that. So I've absolutely you and Matt were both owed an apology, and I'm here to do it.
Yeah, kudos to you, mate. Warmly received. Thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. And thanks for coming on the BBQ Talk Show. If you want to run through all of your social medias and tell the world that you don't sell every Tuesday where they can find you, that would be fantastic.
So the website is the bbqcentralshow.com. The live show happens every Tuesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. And you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok with the handle at BBQ Central Show. And you can follow me over on Facebook/BBQ Central Show, and same for Twitch if you're into that for live streams. And then my YouTube is /RD, like Romeo Delta, RD Rempe. And we already talked about that. So I wish it was BBQ Central Show, but that was taken away from me. And then podcast, subscribe to it on any podcast platform. I'm there. And there is also new over like the last month. If you like the show, but you don't like my sponsor reading, then you can subscribe to a ad-free subscription. I have one over at my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/BBQ Central Show. And you get a private feed or whatever, and you can take that feed and then put it into your favorite podcast platform, and it will show up like it would normally. It's just a little different, set apart. And then if you're an Apple Podcast user, if you're in the show, it will give you an alert right there at the top of the thing. If you want to subscribe for an ad-free experience, you can do that, or you can just listen with the ads. I mean, hey, the more of me, the better. Whether I'm trying to sell you something or not.
Yeah, that's really cool. I personally quite like the ads because I get to listen to a load of American stuff that I find fascinating anyway, which is why I listen to your show.
Justin.
No, yeah. It's totally cool that you get the opportunity to do that as well. I think it's all good. It's all any revenue form that you can make. Kudos to you, man. It's all good money. Yeah, as I said, thanks for coming on. If you want to stick around, I can put the link in the chat. Some people might come on if you want to talk to them. If you don't, that's cool. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. So thanks for coming on the show, Greg, and yeah, much appreciated.
Thanks,
and
I appreciate it. Tell Matt I said hi, and I'm sorry that I missed him live again.
That way, he's on his holidays. As I said, he's a hardworking tech guy, unlike myself, who's just a jolly engineer. So yeah, he's off enjoying himself with his family. So it's
thanks
nice
for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Anytime you want to come back on, please do. You'd be more than welcome. And it was great having you here. So thanks a lot, Greg. Right. I'm going to put a link in the chat. I'm going to run an ad. If you want to stick around. Stick around. If you don't,
I'm going to go eat.
Okay. Well, have a nice evening then, Greg. Thanks for coming on, dude.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good evening. Well, I'm just going to run the pub club and then